Sawyers, and I am a Moonshot learning coach. So today we're going to talk about choice, which is a big thing in the Moonshot program. So choice provides multiple pathways to mastery, and learners have meaningful options in what, how, and where they learn. And all the pictures that you're going to see up here are pictures of Moonshot students doing the different things that they do when they're in Moonshot. Okay, so what is Moonshot? Moonshot is a fairly new program in our district. We just started year 2. And Moonshot is a program where students get to create their ideal school. They get to choose what they want to learn about. So when they come to the Moonshot room, they are picking topics or areas of school that they want to learn about, or things outside of school that they want to learn about. And we'll get into more detail about how they choose that and what they do when they choose their certain activities. So other parts of Moonshot are that our students don't receive traditional grades. They take all the assessments, quizzes, projects in their regular classroom, and they still do all of them. But instead of getting grades, they get feedback. So their teachers will give them written feedback on a test or an assignment. You did a really good job. Next time, maybe think about this. Let's go back and fix this part and look at it again. The kids don't see grades. So if they're looking at like a report card or in Power School or wherever their grades are, they don't see a grade because they're getting that feedback from their teachers. So what does choice look like? For us, choice starts at summer. And each of you have gotten that sheet. And this is a sheet that we use with our students to decide what they want to learn about. We meet with each student during the summer and their parents, and we go through this. We ask what they're interested in, because that might be something they want to learn about during the school year. We ask them what their specialist class are. Would you like to do something different in computer class than what you're already doing in your general computer class? So they might come to us for computer, and we might do more robots and coding that maybe they're not doing in their traditional classroom. We even talk about languages. Is there a language you'd like to learn? So maybe a kid is interested in learning Greek or Japanese. They can come to Moonshot and learn those languages that they wouldn't get to learn because not every school has those options. So we prepare and come up with creative lessons for them to do based on a language. We ask the kids their strengths. We make them tell us, which for some kids that's really hard. They're not used to having that much power in what they learn and even knowing about themselves. So this gives them a chance to really focus in on knowing who they are, because we can help guide their learning by using their strengths. And then we also talk about what they need to work on. Maybe they're not strong in math, and maybe that's something they want to build up this year. So maybe that's something we choose to do with them in Moonshot. And then non-negotiables, those are the things that they must have. Like they must eat lunch with their friends every day because they need that social interaction, or they need to learn language. So those are the things we make sure we have in place for them when they come to Moonshot. Okay, so what does choice look like? Currently we have from K to 12 about 85 students in the Moonshot program. Here in 7 to 12 I have about 25. Each of those kids has different choices. No one student is the same. So it's really interesting for me as a teacher because I'm learning a lot of different things that maybe I didn't learn as a student. When we come into the classroom, we talk about, okay, what are we going to learn? We go back to that paper and say, you mentioned that you're interested in these. Which one would you like to start? Sometimes they come and say, none of these interest me anymore. I'd like to do something else. And that's okay. So each of our kids have different things they want to do. I have some students who come to me for ELA. So they know that they work best by themselves, and they may not feel comfortable in that classroom setting. So they come to me for their language arts class. So right now we're reading a novel, and we're doing different things with the novel, hitting all their reading skills, but based on their interest and how they learn. So instead of making the standard fit the kid, we're fitting the kid and using the standards based around the kid and students and what they're learning. We have students who are really into the animals. So they go and they feed the ducks, they take care of the chickens. They do that. They come for science. I have kids learning about space. I have kids learning about music. We have kids learning about politics. These are not necessarily things that they're learning in their general curriculum, but they're things that are interesting to the kids. So we do that by having them do research. They research through the computer, through books, and since I'm in the library, we have a lot of books we can look through. They do projects, they do experiments. We do all kinds of things depending on how they learn best and how they want to learn that material. We have one student who was a cyber student in Moonshot. This student has a really hard time with getting grades. When she sees a grade she doesn't like, she shuts down. So Moonshot for her is perfect because she still does the work, she gets the feedback, but she's not seeing that letter grade. So school isn't as intimidating for her. But she also she does it through cyber. So every kid has different options, and we work to fit around what they need. Then there's also ways to show learning. So I gave everybody this sheet. And this is just a list of different ways that the students can learn. They could do a poster, they could write a poem, a collage, create a website. So sometimes it's hard for kids to figure out how they're going to show their learning. So by this, we give them options. And we just don't hand it to them, we talk to them. How would you like to show your learning? And then we have discussion about their product or what they did. So it's a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, things like that. But in essence, the kids are determining what they learn, how they learn, and why they're learning it. And a lot of you have probably been in some classrooms today. Those have been our traditional classrooms. Our Moonshot students have been your student leaders. They've been the ones walking you around the buildings, getting you back and forth between the schools. Later on, some of them are going to be talking to you and giving their thoughts and views on what Moonshot is. So, the next thing is questions. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Yes?
So basically in the Moonshot class, everybody would be reading that novel. Everybody in the Moonshot class, or just
maybe just that one kid.
Just the one kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you might have two kids in here for ELA, and they might be reading two different books.
Okay.
Because they kind of pick a book that they're interested in versus being told they have to read, the Diary of Anne Frank. Maybe they're into something else. So they get that freedom to choose. Yes?
So what level of differentiation, do you have any supports in place? Like if they're doing two different novels, maybe they lend themselves to different comprehension skills in those novels, so how do you
We talk to them, I find out their reading level, what they're interested in learning. We go to maybe their previous teacher to see where they're at, and then I put in different places in different lessons depending on each student.
Is it more like self-directed or self-paced through the novel, or do you do small group, like for people one-on-one, like how does that?
It depends on the student. Right now, I only have one student in ELA, so it's one-on-one. We do activities, we read, we discuss. They do some writing, some projects, so it's a variety of things.
And then if you're in this room, do you have other kids doing, like, can you give me an example of what the rest of your room looks like?
Okay, so on a daily basis, this is what my classroom looks like. It's in here, and every period is different. Some periods I have 5 kids in here. Some I might have 3, sometimes there's 1 student, depending on their schedules. So if there's 5 kids, they're probably doing 5 different things. So one might be doing their ELA class. So I might spend some time with them talking and discussing, while the other kids are doing like a research project, or maybe they're doing coding, or maybe they're doing some math. So I'm basically facilitating, walking around, checking in, having those mini conversations about what they're doing. Yes.
So are they, the students in the Moonshot Program, do they just come down for one period a day, like in substitution to an English class, they come here, or math class, or is it like more than one?
It depends on the student. Most of our kids right now come twice a week because it's really fairly new up here, because last year there were only 4 students in 7 through 12. Now we have 23. So the dynamics have changed up here. So we're always looking at it and tweaking it, but most of my students come twice a week, usually out of science or social studies. Other kids, if they have like their exploratory classes, which are like their specialist classes like gym or art or coding and robotics, maybe they didn't want to take that, so they can come in for a Moonshot period for 9 weeks. So they come 5 days a week for that 42 minutes. So I have some of those, and then I have some who come to me all day, not all day, but all year long. I have a student who comes to me for science, so he's with me 5 days a week. I have an ELA student who's with me 5 days a week. So every student's schedule looks different. And then there are times when we pull for activities, field trips, different projects we're doing. So every week can be totally different for me. Yes.
So the kids do go to some of their traditional classes, they
Yes.
pick which classes they don't want to go to the traditional.
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. So like if they, like I have a student who wasn't interested in coding and robotics in the general setting, so she came to me and did coding and robotics.
Okay.
So the 9 weeks is ending tomorrow, so after that she'll go back into whatever her next exploratory class is.
But you still have like a graduation, like a requirement, they have to do so much science, so much.
Yeah, once they get to the high school level.
So they just realize that science isn't their thing, they can do science here instead.
Not so much in high school, I believe, because like we only have a couple high school kids, and most of them stay in those traditional classes,
Okay.
but they don't receive the grades. So that's the bigger impact for them. Now we do keep their grades, like it's not like, because we have to keep their grades for like scholarships, for graduation, if they're playing a sport. So we keep those grades, they don't see them, but we do have them for things like that, National Honor Society. So we do keep grades, they just don't see it.
Okay.
So that's more on the teacher end, yes.
How does one get into the program? And then
Anybody can join the program. It doesn't matter if you are a gifted student, a regular student, a special ed student. Any student who's interested can join. They can join at any time during the school year. There's no cutoff. Like after 100 kids, we don't cut anybody off. In fact, I just have 2 kids joining now. So they'll start next week when the new 9 week starts. So it's open enrollment. How they join is their parent contacts us. Like if the kid shows interest and they come to me, I'll be like, talk to your parent. And we give them a sheet, like what is Moonshot, so the parents know. We meet with the parents and we tell them what it's about the grading, which is the bigger issue for most of the parents is the grading, because they're not used to their kids not having grades. So that's always the big thing that the parents ask us about. So after the parents decide whether this is a good fit for their kid or not, then I meet with the kid, during the school year I probably just meet with the kid separately and discuss what they want to learn about, and then we write it down and I talk to the teachers and I coordinate everything for them. So, and also too, sometimes kids join Moonshot and they find out it's not the best fit for them. So they can leave the program anytime they feel that it's just not for them. And that's great because they have that choice. And I've had kids advocate for themselves saying, I love Moonshot, but I need grades because that's how I function. That's great. We need to find what works for you. Moonshot isn't something you are forced to be in. We love to have everybody, but we know that it doesn't maybe work. And that's giving that kid that choice. They're able to say, it doesn't work. I need this. So we set that in place and get them back into that traditional setting. So it's You can stay, you can join at any time. We do what's best for that child. Yes.
And your role as facilitator of this, is there anyone else in your building that has the same role that you do? Are you?
No, I'm the only
Okay.
Moonshot learning coach at the secondary level. Heather Nicholson is the facilitator down at the elementary, so she has K-6. We coordinate a lot together, working with this program, making sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to, that we're meeting the kids' needs, that we're helping the teachers, because it's hard for them too also to get over the thing of not having grades, because that's what they're used to also, and teaching them about feedback and things like that. So me and Heather work closely together.
Is this your full-time job as a Moonshot coach, and what did you do before you?
I'm a Moonshot coach, and I also do gifted this year for 7 to 12, and before this, I was a 3rd grade teacher. So, I came into Moonshot halfway through last year, because the size, it just grew from like 27 to like, by the end of last year, I think we were almost to 50. So it just keeps growing and growing. Yes?
So for something like the language example, when somebody picks Greek or a non-traditional language, how are you delivering that? And then, given the lack of a grade, how are you sort of assessing their growth, right?
So what we do, we've been using Duolingo as part of it. We also incorporate videos from YouTube. Since it's more exploratory, we're not giving a grade per se, but we talk to the student, ask them to like learn their colors, their numbers in the beginning, things like that. And then they will come to us and be like, I'm ready to share the alphabet with you, and then they'll speak it. We want to further that along, especially for the kids who were in it last year. Now that they're coming to middle school or they're still in elementary, we want to further that to maybe doing research about that country or learn